I'm Lynette here with our lovely guests today. We've got Valera and Jimmy. So Valera is from Croatia and a cosplayer and has been a cosplay judge. And Jimmy Wray was at PT Baltimore and also part of the organising for Lake Frigid. And he cosplayed with his family, which I think is really great. So without further ado, let's get into our first subject. We had the Lake Frigid event. Now, I understand that a lot of there wasn't enough competitors to have a full-on competition, but there was some great work there. How did that go, Jimmy?
Well, we made the best of it because it felt kind of cheesy that the three people that were in the store or work with the store, as far as myself, my daughter, and my best friend Mike, we cosplayed at the PT. We were the only ones that really showed up, and then David Mink also showed up because he's a local guy as well. So it was just us four, and then our cosplay judge. And I was like, it feels kind of cheesy to just kind of give myself or the other people in the store prizes. So I just took the entirety bulk of the prizes and we basically turned it into a photo op for people who were participating in the event. And then we had a live photographer, Cat Photography, that was sponsoring the event. So we just had her taking professional pictures with so people could come into the photo booth that we set up in the shop and they could just sit and take pictures with us and have some really nice professional photographs done. So I just basically gave everybody pricing. I just gave everybody, I think, the $200 store credit in prize tickets, and they all got to buy stuff they wanted to. So that was pretty cool. Except for Isabel, she spent it on magic product because she is a Lord of the Rings
Yes,
fan.
yes, I saw that set.
So, you know, we made the best out of it. We all took pictures. It was still, it's always fun to have people around that are doing fun things within the community because it it may have turned two or three people in the crowd to the point where they're willing to actually cosplay next time. So, I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to keep trying. And the cosplay portion didn't fire as well as I hoped, but it gave a lot of cool effect to the room. And, everybody who does the cosplays loves being able to show it off. So we really went with it and just made the best out of what we could for that.
And it was really cool. I really liked the promotion, and you had selected judges. So you had three judges. How did the process go of selecting judges? Because everyone's always quite curious. Because at different levels, the judging can be quite different for callings and for PTs. I believe that at PTs, people at PTs, LSS has a lot more to do with it, and at calling level, it's more to do with the organisers. As an organiser, who had to get judges in, how was that experience for you? Did you look for anything particular in your judges?
Uh, well, first and foremost, the thing I look for most is people that would say yes, because getting people to sign up to judge other people is not exactly the easiest. I also wanted to find a way to encompass, it being a community event, I wanted to find a way to encompass everybody. So I really went above and beyond trying to find. We used one of our artists that was participating. I used her as a judge, or I was going to use her as a judge. We actually had one of our local people win a prize at Pro Tour
Mm,
Baltimore. So we ended up having Ian volunteer to be a judge, and I thought it was cool because he showed up with his costume on, which is always a great thing.
yeah, he was third
And then
place,
the other
right?
person was going to. I don't recall. It was kind of like Rachel Place and then everybody not Rachel Place. So,
Yeah, because he was
uh,
the blossom of spring, right? Yeah, he was
correct,
third.
correct. Yep. So yeah, we don't really put numbers to it. It was the Rachel Place, and then everybody. Then it was the other finishers who placed, and then it was the rest of us who had a great time and great
I,
experience with it. So we had, a lot of the cosplay judge selection just came down to people who were available and people who were willing to come in and kind of make themselves be able to judge.
Okay. So we'll come back more to the judging whole thing in further in the podcast. Shall we talk about PT at Atwip? Um, Valera, how did you find PT Atwip? I hope I'm.
Well, there weren't a lot of cosplayers there, but I think there were the eight of us, and all of the cosplays were just an amazing quality and an amazing level of craftsmanship. So the cosplayer who was cosplaying young, the new Angel Baby
Yeah,
Prism, as I like to call her, it was her first cosplay. I met her the day before, and she told me she was working on her and that she finished her, that she wasn't all too happy, as
yeah,
non-cosplayers are in the end. Nobody's happy with what they do. You can always make something more, you can always do something extra. When I saw her, I just, my jaw dropped. That is not a
yeah.
beginner level cosplay. It's not beginner
That
level friendly.
the
It's just
orb.
an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Um, the orb,
Mm,
the wings, the corset, everything. It was just so detailed, and the two dromais. I think it was pretty interesting seeing cosplays who weren't doubles, because you always see two Bravos, or you'll see two Arachnes, or you'll see two of the same hero, and all eight of
mm.
us were totally different, and that was a pretty cool
Yeah, because
experience to see.
oh,
A
sorry.
few
Yeah,
of us,
one of
yeah,
the Dromize was Dan, so he did the yeah. We followed him along on
yeah.
the Discord. Yeah,
Yes, so he had his prop, and basically everybody had a sort of prop and a sort of thing that they did that was characteristic for their character, from Katsu to Riptide. Everybody just really, I think, shined their brightest. Some cosplayers were there the day before and the day after in their cosplays, but the day after we were just all so tired from everything. As far as the competition goes, it was pretty smooth sailing. So I remember when I was in
mm,
Lille that the entire thing was organized pretty fast and pretty without really any
mm,
thought given to it. And here we had a specific time where we were going to meet with judges, specific time where we were going to take photos, a specific time where the
mm.
show would start, and everything was just
Yeah,
organized pretty nicely. Um, so Arcbound
yeah,
TCG was going around and looking
yes,
for all of us 5 or 10 minutes before the thing starts. Like, we're going to
mm,
need you at the stage to talk to the judges, to take some photos with people. And the thing that I really like, it was my first time
yeah,
competing, actually. I really like seeing the
mm,
reaction of people when you come forward and when you're in character and you're talking to them, and you're like, "Do you want to try my mask? Do you want to try my sword? Do you want to take a picture with it? Try doing
mm.
this pose, try doing that." There were some kids there, and I love seeing children at events like these because I think it's a very good way to
Oh
get them
yeah,
into cosplay. Because if you get a child into cosplay, you will have no problem
yeah.
except for financial ones.
It's kind of the old TCG thing too.
Can you
You get
agree?
yeah,
That's how I got roped in. Is my daughter saw some cosplays when she was very young at some of the events that she's been playing professional Magic, or was playing
yeah,
professional Magic when she was 12. So she had been going around all these events. So when she would see people cosplaying, she's also loved theater and all that stuff. So I mean, most of the reason I even did anything is because she was kind of egging me on, and I was like, all right, well, anything to hang out with my kid. And she's 20 now as of yesterday, so anything to just hang out with her and spend time with her. But people like us gave them the love of the costuming
mm,
and the confidence to do it. So, I'm eternally grateful for every time anybody does anything with children, because it keeps them and the fire alive.
yeah, yeah. I do a bit locally for so I do parades and stuff. I do the Santa parade for the kids, and it is awesome to see them just they see we had dinosaurs last year and things like that they go, oh my god, that's a cosplay. Oh, I love it. That's that kind of thing. So and also going to these fab events, and also taking these costumes to other places is really great because you can bring people to fab, which is so nice. Um, Do you think that the whole change in like the organization has been basically you sounds like you feel it's for the better? Was it like that a bit at Proto Baltimore as well, Jimmy? Did it feel quite a little bit organized, or was it still a bit of higgledy-piggledy?
Well, it felt pretty well organized. I think they were a little bit overwhelmed by the sheer number of cosplay entries at
Mm,
Baltimore because there was a lot of
yeah,
them, and some people like me, who's kind of new and fresh to cosplaying, a very intricate costume, so I was wearing a wig the entire time. I've never done that in my entire life. So I went to the event to play in the event wearing my costume. So by the time 4 or 5 o'clock rolled around, I was exhausted. My head hurt from the wig. So we ended up, me and my group, we went walked back to the hotel to just like take off our costume and freshen it all up. And I think we walked in right before the cosplay walk portion started, so I think we missed a lot of the judging portion. So, uh, could have been a little bit better communication as far as when we were supposed to be there, what was going on for the people who were kind of newer, like myself and the group I was with. But I think overall they did the best they could with the sheer volume of people trying to hit those time
yeah,
restraints. I think they did a really good job in picking the judges that were very experienced in keeping everybody moving to that
yeah,
end and trying to get everybody to stay with the timing and everything. So I from a organization standpoint, I think they did an amazing job. They stayed on time. They kept everything. It was relatively seamless in the sense that you know more information beforehand, like what exactly we'd be doing on stage, preparing a skit, whatever. We were never really told any of that until literally we were walking on the stage. They're like, "Hey, you can do like a 2 minute skit, and we'll introduce you and stuff." And I was like, "Ooh, what are we gonna do?" And luckily, I'm a WR last name, so I was way, and I didn't register until the very end, so I didn't think I was gonna actually finish and have a costume, so I was way in the back. So I had lots of time to practice and help, motivate other people to do well and like practice with them at the end of the line. So
yeah. Um,
It was a bit different in Antwerp. So we there was 8 of us, so it was pretty easier to get us all together and to make sure that everyone was there. However, when the show part started, we were told we had maybe a few
mm,
seconds of time to do something that looked cool, to do a pose, to do like a tiny,
yeah,
tiny little part of a skit. So we were all backstage and we were like, okay, so you can do that, you can do that, you can maybe do that. Will that fit in like a 10-second mark? We had no idea what we were doing. So basically, people were just there striking their poses or doing like very short skits, trying to figure something out. But it was a
mm,
pretty fun experience. So when we were registering on
yeah,
the online thing that you have to fill out, there is a portion that says that you will be judged
yeah,
on character performance. There is not a part that states what exactly character
yeah,
performance is. So it doesn't matter if you're in your costume the entire day engaging with people, or if you're in the costume 5 minutes prior to the program and engaging with people, then I think it still counts the same as long as the judges
yeah,
see you do something.
yeah,
I also would like to give out a shout out to Flake because Flake is an amazing human being. Period. That's end of sentence. But even further, because he was the one moderating the actual event and he was the one kind of bringing people up, he really was able to get a amount of participation that I don't think a lot of people can get. So he was able to pull people up on stage and really let them, and like he was asking them questions and stuff that normally you wouldn't be able to do if you just go up on your own. So like he had a phenomenal presence about him, and he was able to really get the best out of the cosplayers. That you know, some of us are very shy and socially awkward, and we do not like being up on stage, even though we're in costume. And we like to be just viewed from afar and be quiet, and we like to be our shy
yeah,
selves and not be very in the limelight,
mm,
kind of. So he really had a really good way of bringing everybody up there and really just kind of getting them to bring their characters to life. He's been phenomenal for the game, but I think for the cosplay side of things, I think he did a great service to us by having him call us up there and read out our introductions and then actually like talk to us while we were on stage.
That's another.
Yeah, that's a big part of the competition when you actually have somebody who's gonna like maybe let you go through it more fluently and make you really feel like the
Yeah,
character that you're portraying.
makes you
Correct.
comfortable on stage. Which, from the small amount of footage that I did see, there was a little bit that was shared on the Discord. You could see that he definitely gave the energy that made you feel comfortable to bring yourself onto the stage, and it was also really
Hopefully,
cool to
the
see.
stuff that he did with me only exists on my phone because it was kind of adult oriented because I was I was playing the Dami Mommy version of Azuri, so I definitely went up there with my whip and my dagger, and I definitely cracked him a couple times with the whip because, and I
Oh my
quote, "Nobody comes to the pits without checking with mommy first."
Cool. Um,
god.
yeah, and I really enjoyed. I did see some footage from Arch Board Bound. He actually put some footage up online, which was really nice. We haven't had that before. It was nice. I believe he is with La Video. Yeah, I don't
Yes,
know if I
yes, he is.
pronounced that correctly, but I found it really cool being able to see that footage because without being at events, I'm kind of tucked down in New Zealand. Um, Without being able to go to events, it's been really hard for me to feel the energy, and it was really nice to see some of your guys' skits and the energy that you had. But the backdrops. I know it's their new mat and all that, but I found the backdrops were just a little bit busy, and some cosplayers unfortunately get lost in it. And did a bit at Baltimore and for Antwerp, and it is a beautiful backdrop, but when you lose the cosplayers, it seems a bit odd. How did it feel being actually at the events with these backdrops?
Let you go first.
Okay, well, I don't really think any of us paid that much attention to the backdrops. Backdrops were pretty
Mm,
simple, but I think it all depends maybe on the person who's photographing or filming or whatever, because you're
yeah,
not really looking at the backdrop. So they are behind you the whole time. And I think that as for the people in the audience that I talked to, that I asked about the performances of various cosplayers, myself included, they all said that it looked actually pretty nice. I am a bit sad though that the whole part that was supposed to be the show area wasn't at least a little bit elevated. I think that would have given it a more
yeah,
professional kind of look, even by a little margin, like a tiny little step. That I think that that would have just given it a more professional level and feeling
mm,
to the entire thing. As for the backdrops, I don't think that they are that big of a problem, but I really wasn't watching it from a perspective of a person who's looking at the cosplayer because I
yeah,
was
yeah,
the cosplayer and we weren't really
yeah.
watching each other when the showcase was happening.
I'm very much in the same boat. I didn't even realize it was an issue until I saw you kind of bring it up, and you know, again, it's one of the least things I'm worried about as far as that goes because like it wasn't a brick white wall behind us, so it's definitely a step up
Right.
from that.
Yeah.
But again, if we never bring up the fact that it could be improved, it will never be improved because no one will ever know to improve it. So, uh, it didn't. It wasn't something I personally noticed. I thought some of the best photos that I saw from Baltimore because Alex was taking photos, and Alex is a phenomenal photographer, but he put a very limited number of the amount of photos he
Mm,
took up. So is it Escher?
Isha, yeah.
I can't.
Is it?
Yeah.
Issa,
So I yeah,
Issa.
I am I'm bad with that. So they put out a ton of photos, and their photo dumps were
Mm,
amazing. They went above and beyond. They did tons of like posing with people and like getting lots of action shots with the cosplayers, and I think that elevated the game to another
mm,
level. And sometimes the backdrops were in it, and sometimes they weren't. But I was so overly focused on my appreciation for the costume making now, having done
mm.
it. I was so focused on looking at all the costume pieces and the little bits and pieces and how well they were made, and how I could maybe improve what I'm doing with those same ideas. So I was more focused, I guess, on the costumes than I was on the backdrop, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a relevant thing to bring up, I
I
think.
think so. As they managed to get
So
a lot
I'm
of
I'm
these.
looking at the photos from Antwerp right now.
Yeah.
Sorry to intrude, but I'm looking at the photos from Antwerp right now because I was just curious. And yes, actually looking at them right now, feeling that can the backdrops be improved? Yes, they can because the golden lines on the black backdrop are really, really, really something that's like the
Yeah.
first thing that your eye sees. It's very detailed and it's very pretty, and the cosplayers, as you said, just get a
Yeah.
little bit lost in them because you have this very saturated and very detailed background, and this cosplayer that isn't two-dimensional, it's three-dimensional on that photo. But if the cosplayer isn't, for example,
Mm.
Katsu, who in his blue clothes was really something that your eyes see because it's a contrasting color. I'm looking at the illusionists and they're really just not sticking out from
And
the
little.
backdrop enough. So yeah, that is an issue
Yeah.
now that I'm looking at
And
it.
I believe
I
that
see it. You. Yep.
a lot of the photos taken by Issa, yeah, where they managed to get a lot of photos in front of the pit's background, and those ones are great, and I love them. They're very good, but it's hard to have one that I understand why LSS had the background they did because it's hard to encapsulate all the different um, cosplays. But yeah, it's yeah, because I we lost the brute, and I was so disappointed because it wasn't until I saw more of his action photos that I saw more of his details for being able to put him in as cosplay of the month last month. So yeah, it was yeah. Um, so we're going to go and talk about judging. So Valera, you have been on both sides of judging. I understand at PT you said it was a little PT Lil was a little bit rushed or so forth. But what kind of guidelines did they give you at that point? I know a lot's changed since then. They've been working on making it a little bit easier for the judges and the participants to understand what's going on with guidelines. But how was your experience?
So I was when I got invited to PT Lil, it was a very nice experience, and I was asked sometime before the actual event if I would be okay with judging. As far as I know, from talking with Alice, Miss Chalice, she wasn't informed she would be judging, so that is
Mm,
something to think about. But it was a very interesting experience because we were not only judging, we were basically in charge of the entire competition, of organizing how everything is going to um, fold out, where it will be, who will basically be the narrator, the host of everything. We asked for the printed guidelines. So it's basically very similar to what we have today. So it's based on performance, accuracy, materials that you're using, and so on and so forth. And the guidelines are very specific on which grade you give depending on what you think. As far as I know, the grades are like from 1 to 3 if the costume doesn't really resemble the cosplay. according to the picture, the source material, and it's like 3 to 6 if it vaguely resembles but is missing some key details, or some things have been replaced, the color doesn't really match, but it's going there, and 7 to 10 if the costume is very accurate, there is a multitude of details, and so on and so forth. So the guidelines are pretty well detailed and well thought out, but it's still pretty hard to give the grade to a cosplayer, at least it was in Lille, when you get to see them for maybe a fraction of a
Yeah.
minute. Because we didn't have the pre-judging then. We only had the cosplay showcase, so we saw some cosplays before, and we got to see some of the cosplays and see them in detail and talk to the people and everything before, but we didn't really want that to go into our judging process, because it wouldn't be fair to everyone, because we didn't get that chance with
Yeah.
everyone. So
Mm.
Mansan, he was
Yeah.
Levaya, and he was literally rushing from his match to get on stage to do his performance so we can grade him and
Yeah.
to go back. And he did the same thing again when he was called up to get his prize. So as far as the guidelines go, the guidelines are pretty well thought out, but back then it was very difficult to judge based on them, because we just didn't have a lot of time to actually, exactly what you said. So you missed the whole judging process of talking to the judges, Jamie. You missed that whole part, and you were just there for the showcase, for the
Yeah.
catwalk. And that is a very, very important part of the entire judging process, because when you're looking at a cosplay from afar or from a photo, it can look amazing, but when you come and see that the person's shoulder pad is falling off, when you see that their, I don't know, knee pad fell off or something. There was a very funny situation actually where I don't remember who it was actually, but when we were giving away the prizes, one of the cosplayers' shoulder pads
Mm.
just fell off. And that's not something that we could have known by seeing them in the 30
Mm.
seconds that they were on stage. It's something that we could have known from talking to them or from getting to know them a little bit better before the entire catwalk process, or even after the catwalk process. So the judging, as far as time goes, we weren't told how much
Mm.
time we had. We weren't even really told what prizes we had until we asked. So we didn't know that there was another tailor that could be given out, and that we could give out 3 prizes
Mm.
basically. So that was something that we just had to figure out on our way to figuring
Yeah.
out who
Yeah.
was the best cosplayer there. So it's a race. The entire judging process, I would say that it's just a race between you as the judge and you as the cosplayer, trying to figure out, okay, so when are we going to be done? When are we going to find out who the
Yeah.
person is? Because now I know the
Yeah.
feeling from both sides, because I know the feeling of trying to calculate who got the most points. It's supposed to
Mm.
be simple. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
point based, and then you have cosplayers who have
Yeah.
the same score, or you have 3 cosplayers who have the
Yeah.
same score,
Yeah.
and then what?
Yeah.
It's very hard, and as you said, it's hard getting people to say yes, because if they know what they're getting into, they will probably not say yes, because it's stressful. It's really stressful, because you're thinking of all the people who are
Mm.
amazing. I'm not talking uh, people who put on a t-shirt and call themselves a hero. I'm talking about wigs and crafting and outfits and performances
Mm.
and props, and people who are really putting their heart and soul into that cosplay, and you're looking at them and they're looking back at you, and you have to pick
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
two at best
And
from
our
20.
standards are getting so high too. I mean, just looking at both of the events, the caliber of our cosplayers is getting up there, and it's hours of work. We've been chatting away in the Discord, which is starting to look a bit different, because I've made little areas where people can talk about specific things, because the amount of things like wigs, people don't think about wigs and how hard they so we've made a whole section where people can talk about wigs, because everything that you do for the cosplay takes time. selecting wigs, for goodness sake, and then even if you have to style it or whatever, just as an example, wigs. But and every single person that's come to every one of the events has just looked absolutely gorgeous, and the work is just phenomenal, and the bravery too, putting yourself out there. Mm.
Yeah. And I think that the fact that we have one of the categories, one of the rules you're supposed to follow when you're judging, the things you're looking for is you're looking for diversity when it comes to handling materials and techniques used in the craftsmanship of the cosplay. So a cosplay who is, and there is a lot of talk about this, but a cosplay who is just sewn with a wig will be judged differently than a cosplay which involves sewing and craftsmanship and woodworking or foam smithing and a wig and special effects or something. And it's just, I think that that is
Mm.
actually a good thing, that someone who put more work into many different aspects of a cosplay gets a bit more recognition than someone who did one part. It's not to say that their cosplay is worse or doesn't look as good. I think all of them look amazing. I think that um, someone who just comes up as
Yeah.
tailor, but if that tailor is packed to the brim with detail and finesse and
Mm.
attitude, is someone who is just as amazing as a giant steaming mech. However, when you're a judge, you have to judge things
Yeah.
differently. And that's
Yeah.
the
And
hard
I
part,
mean,
because you have to put
mm,
yourself out of it, and you just have to look at it objectively and look at the
yeah.
guidelines you're given.
I think from a standpoint of being a tournament organizer and trying to run the Battle Lake Frigid one, I really tapped into a few resources, Carolina being one of them prior to her getting picked as a judge. And I wanted to tap into, because this is my first time, so I obviously did the research. I found what other places and cons were doing, and then I sat down and I made a grading rubric so that it was kind of put out there. And I didn't feel, I think, all encompassing to what you just said, I didn't feel it was fair that if somebody comes up and has elaborate, ridiculous foam crafted armor, that they should be competing against somebody who is just tailoring, or even more so, like if you play Ira and maybe you have the gi, and but your sword is, you clearly took your time and made a really good sword and made a really good mask. Those are more props than they are the tailoring side. So like, how do you compare these things? And I really, then there's the other two aspects of it that I kind of brought out, which were the creativity part, like taking a character that maybe isn't a main character. Like we had Mike, who was with us cosplaying. He took Barbed Undertow, which is clearly a ranger card, but it's made very much with assassin flavor. So we took it and we really like ran away with how we were building out that card. So he had all the aspects of it, but then we also put storyline elements to it where we, I'm sorry, Lynette. Our storyline was that he basically assassinated Azalea on a contract, and he stole her
Yeah.
stuff and was using now her stuff as trophy
Yeah.
things. So like, that's why he was carrying around the crow's nest, and that's why he was carrying around the death dealer, and that's why he went all in making those things, because that was the flavor that we were getting. So there was a creativity aspect of it that is completely separate of what you can see on the card. So, and then the other aspect of that is, you know, Mike enjoyed doing all of the crafting with like building weapons and building props and stuff. He loved that aspect. I love the aspect of coming up with ideas and like building armor. And there was three of us, Isabel as well. So Isabel did almost all of the sewing for all of us, because that's what she specializes in, and she was able to hastily and well done do all of her stuff, that we were able to come together as a team. And I don't think there's any real rubric for team building as a group. Um, so I broke it down into multiple categories so that, you know, we would give you a grade based on armor, and then we'd give you a grade on armor, accessories, tailoring, creativity, and likeness. So there'd be the aspect of one person who goes for exact replica of a hero or a card is not judged in the same category that somebody who takes a gender bent, or let's say takes, I don't know, what comes to mind is like the Ninja Turtles that we typically watch in the United States. We watch the Ninja Turtles being young teenagers, but then there's the Ronin version of it where they're all ninjas and they're very much Japanese flavored. And like to me, that's an amazing take on characters, is when you could take a character and move them into a whole nother element. And those people shouldn't be judged against people who are going for exact perfection of
Mm,
likeness.
mm,
So
Exactly.
I kind of broke it down into 5 categories, and I had a grading detail on each so I could give awards based on each one of those categories, so you could showcase each and every one of those people. And personally, I would like to see that be taken over in the mainstream ideology now that we're getting big enough to do that in like these pro tour events where we had 40 something people. I'd love to see something like that happen, so there's not just a generic rubric of, well, this person's an amazing tailor. They use 40 different types of fabric and it looks amazing. But again, how do you compare to a 12-foot tall or an 8-foot tall robot with steam and lights and like moving pieces?
Everything,
And
yeah.
like those are definitely not in the same category. So why are they judged as if they are? So
Exactly.
I think that should be that. Now that we're getting big enough to be able to do it, I think we should start moving into that direction instead of like, good on Carolina. She's a wild child, and she definitely took the reins on it and said, "Screw it, we're giving out 4 prizes. Don't care. Like, fire me if you want to, but you asked me to be here, so we're doing it."
mm.
Good on her for actually taking the behest to do that and say, "Look, you can't compete with this. Like, Rachel's amazing. She that is in a category all of its own. That's in a totally different costume. It's in a different universe.
Yeah.
So then you take that out of the element, and then you add the other awesome things like the creativity that the brute player brought and actually won. The insane attention to detail that Ian brought to the Blossom of Springs, and then the insane amount of level of perfectionary detail that Taipana's brought to their character.
Mm,
So
mm.
there was just good on the judges as a whole for doing that, but having a strong personality like Carolina in order to say, you know what, I don't care. I'm here to break the rules anyway, so we're gonna do this and take care of everybody. So I'm glad they did a really good job picking the judges when they did.
Yeah. I mean,
We had actually a similar experience
mm,
in Lille, because when we were getting all of our grades sorted, and when we were just trying to do all the math and everything, and James was next to us, and I just turned to him and I say, "How many prizes are do we have?" No, I asked him, "How many prizes are we giving out?" And he says, "Well, first and second place." Okay, but how many prizes do we have? Well, we have two tailors and a book. Okay, so we can give out two tailors, right? He's like, um, yeah, but why? Because I have two amazing cosplayers who are literally a fraction of a point apart. And we did the math and we showed him the math. And he was like, "Oh, okay, you're right. Two
yeah.
tailors then."
Yeah, love having a
So
guy like
the
that.
initial plan wasn't to give out both of them, which I'm really not sure how the
Mm,
strategy works of having two of them. Maybe it's a just in case kind of thing. I don't know. But it that was a pretty good experience, and that actually showed me that if there are multiple cosplayers, at least at big events like PT Lil, that there will be a chance for maybe an extra one to get a
mm,
prize.
mm,
As a small side note to that, it's I'm also WNY Gaming is my store,
mm,
so like we turned it into a group, and we extended that to the whole community to bring people in. So when people were coming in to do whatever other games they were doing, they would see us over in the corner building these elaborate cosplays and then over there talking with us. But it's so refreshing and so amazing to have a guy like James at the helm to that is willing to do what is needed to be done or what is right to be done by the players who keep the game alive. It's so refreshing from that aspect because it makes the game an easy sell for me. It makes everything related to this game an easy sell when I can show pictures of James cosplaying or participating in cosplay things
mm.
with the other players. It brings a level to the game that has never been seen before since the 90s and early 2000s
Yeah.
in the TCG communities, when actual people who cared about the game were out there peddling their
Yeah.
game and actually cared about it, when it wasn't just stores interacting with a corporation who said, do what we say, don't like it, then do something else. I don't care. We don't care about you. Like,
Yeah. I
Side note, onto your side note, I will always remember the photo of James in his pink
just
shirt,
round.
the
surrounded by
pink
20
shirts.
other Jameses,
Yeah.
and that just
The pink
melts
shirt.
my heart every time I think about it. The stories that I actually heard behind that photo was that they all came there expecting James to be in that classic pink shirt. He
He
wasn't.
went and changed.
He went backstage to change into the shirt so he can take a photo with them, and that just screams, I love
Mm,
my
mm.
players. That just screams that.
Being in New Zealand, I've been very fortunate. I can talk to him. I get to talk to him at every event. I get to chew his ear, whatever. And he was telling me, and I don't know if you've received it yet, Jimmy, but he was telling me that he is going to be sending something out, and I think you guys are all informed about it, a card for participants that everybody's going to get. So that was in my
I'm thrilled
discussion with
about
him
that.
last time
I
in
heard
Auckland.
about it,
Yes.
kind of.
Um,
It was kind of just put out on the stage while we were all like trying to
yeah.
prepare. We were just made aware we have like a 2 second
So
skit, and
I don't
we're all
know
like
if they're
preparing
ready
for it.
yet, but I've been assured by Alex that he will give me the information when it happens, so I'll be able to share that with the community, the Discord, and possibly the wider community. I'm going to be able to share that. I was hoping it would be here before now because I got cheeky and like asked again, and he says, "Yeah, definitely, definitely," but it hasn't happened yet. But when it happens, I will try and get the wider community involved and have something special for the wider community. So that's another thing because he does recognise that every single one of you guys is working very hard. That's why the judges get to have the tailor. That's why the prizes for the tailor and the also the lore book. But he knows that every single person that comes and enters in that has put a labour of love into their costumes. And that's pretty much the discussion that we had in Auckland. It's understanding that cosplay isn't like I wake up in the morning and it's done. It is hard work. It's as much hard work as playing competitively in this game. So and we bring as much passion as like the Storehorts, the Bravo Storehorts, Kale McCreef. We have as much passion for our projects as he does for Bravo, that he's just been doing since day one. So it's really cool that, as you say, he understands and sees the passion that we have for his game and he appreciates it.
For sure, for sure.
But on that note, it would be really nice if we had a world state or place.
Mm, yeah, that would
Yeah,
be
I
cool.
mean,
I got
I brought it
got
up in
mixed
our
emotions
last
about
pod,
this topic.
and I'll keep bringing it up till we have it. We need time. We need to be organised.
So yeah, we need a date and we
Yeah,
need a location. So okay, does anybody have any inside info? Because I might have a little bit of it.
no
I
inside
don't,
info
but I
here.
do have a little bit of defense because obviously, as a tournament organizer with the Channel Lake or the Battle Lake Frigid thing, I we were assured prior to us setting a date that there would be nothing interfering with it, and we are like, okay, pro tour week off, people can come to our event, people can go to the brawl, and then Antwerp's that weekend over in Europe. We're like, great, we have a great set of events, and then they last second dropped the RTN season on us, and what made it even more compounded and worse is that it was myself and another store. I was managing and running it all, but myself and another store were both running these events, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, as realm qualifiers, and then they dropped RTN, and the other store didn't get selected to do an RTN. So that's, yes, bad on them, but they have a bigger goal in mind, and the three levels were not really communicating well at that point because there was a couple of new people in positions. However, I'm going to defend them in the sense that they went above and beyond. They did not have to. They made everything right. They upgraded the other store to an RTN. They did the best I could. They did the best they could to support us with the best they could, which it is what it is. But then they also communicated with me. They kept the communication open, something I'm not used to. I've been running a game store for 10 years, something I'm not used to with, other companies, we'll say.
Yeah.
Uh, like they communicated with me and they're like, okay, well, this is the issue. What can we do to help? What can we do to fix it? What can we do to mitigate this problem in the future? And they brought up to me that there was a new person in a position, and they were really far behind in getting all this stuff run out. And they assured me that coming up in the future, there would be a lot more runtime. And we actually see that a little bit in the skirmish scheduling that comes up for season 7,
Yeah.
because now we have 2 weeks to schedule, or a week and a half to schedule our event, rather than just they give it to us Friday, we have to have it scheduled by Monday, and then it's locked in stone.
Mm.
So I I we we made the best of what we had. We did the best we could with what we had, and then I just wanted to make sure we give them credit where credit is
Oh yeah.
due, because they have a large job. There's 3 different levels. The 3 levels I'm talking about are the local area play, the regional area play, and then the national area
Yeah.
play. So I think they're starting to get a good working relationship, and I think we're going to start seeing better announcements sooner. And I get the grandeur of announcing it at an event
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but again, like booking hotels,
Mm.
trying to qualify, knowing whether you want to play in an RTN or not, because you don't know where the
Yeah. You,
event is
you
going to
guys have a
be and if
very
it's accessible to you.
you guys didn't actually have a definite date for nationals there until after Road to
That
Nationals started, right?
started.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. We didn't find out till last weekend, and that was after 1 week had already come and
Yeah.
gone. So
And I kind of
it's kind of
understand
wild.
them not wanting to put a place out there until it's set in stone because they don't want to have, perhaps, I mean, in England it was a bit weird, a bit different because there was the passing of a monarch, but they had an event and then they had to work out whether it was worth changing it. They'd changed it, then they had to change it back. So I can understand that they don't want to have a repeat of that kind of situation. Um, but it would be really nice to have a date, understanding that as players and cosplayers, we've got a lot more to organise. You need to have cases and so forth a little bit more than the general person might take, especially if you decide to go, say, from stateside, from my side of the world. Even
Yeah.
travelling within Europe, you still need to make allowances for that kind of stuff. Um, how
I
do
mean,
you feel
imagine
about that,
Rachel trying to
Valera?
travel with that costume without knowing where she's
Yeah.
going. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to plan that.
Mm.
So I have actually two pieces of info that made me feel a little bit relieved when I heard them. I was by chance traveling on the bus when going home from Antwerp with a certain person who I'm not going to name, who was in contact with LSS regarding the
Mm.
organization of Worlds. So the number one info, which I think we all know by now, is Worlds
Mm.
will be in Europe. That is 100% thing. It's going to be in Europe. And the other thing is that it most likely will be, and that explains a lot actually, and I will explain why it explains a lot, in
Yeah.
Poland. And that's something that I wrote on the Discord. And the thing that they are waiting for is to see whether the situation with the Ukrainian war is going to
Mm.
escalate. Because last time, last year in Krakow, it was the start of everything, and it wasn't a nice situation. And they did a fundraiser, and everything was okay. When I was there, we didn't see any explosions. We didn't see any. We weren't evacuated. Nothing really happened. We just saw some people and some protests. However, with each passing day, the situation is becoming more stable, but it can change in the blink of an eye, and that is a very, very close position to be
That
by. The Polish Fab
very
community is
strong.
amazing, and they have a lot of support there. Very strong, very kind and nice players. The venues are pretty good. It's cheap.
Mm.
It's really cheap. It's not that expensive. So Poland would be a very good pick for Worlds in Europe. However, if it won't be Poland, My money is on
Prague. Yeah.
Prague. Yeah, because that kind of seems like the heart of it all, like the center. Because from anywhere in Europe, you can come to Prague, and it's not like going to Italy from Ireland or going to Ireland from Italy or something like that. And I understand the players will be like, oh, well, I'm from Croatia, it should be in Croatia and stuff like that. But I think that if we're hoping that it's going to be at a point that's halfway for everyone, we will be less upset if it's not. So, so yeah, but I think it would be nice if it were in Poland because Poland is an amazing country. The community there is pretty nice, pretty good. They're all really
Mm.
kind players, and the venues are just really beautiful and, as I said, really, really not that expensive. The like Airbnbs and bookings and hotels aren't that expensive. Food isn't that expensive, and just all of the expenses for people even going there won't be that
Yeah.
harsh.
And I
It
I believe that
is,
that's definitely
yeah.
something that LSS seems to look through to as well. Like New Jersey, Lille, and all these places, they're not the um, how do we put it? Like they try to make sure that there is actually somewhere surrounding that isn't too expensive to stay. From people I know have attended both these events. I've got good friends that have attended a lot of events. Ian Candidine and a few of my friends. Um, excuse me. Um, and they said that because they've seemed to have picked locations that they cost effectively makes it a more enjoyable event because they can spend their money more wisely and they can also get more of the experience from the event and be able to purchase more artist proofs or mats or whatever that they are feeling enthusiastic about at the events.
Or go to
Yeah.
more side events, or
But yeah, I just really want to know when Worlds are because I won't be attending, but I'm just excited for the community because the Worlds event that they had in America was really cool, and the cosplays again were amazing. And I understand that there are some stateside that would love to attend Worlds, and I would it'd be wonderful for just almost like a reunion to have people that we talk every day in the Discord being able to meet up in person would be lovely.
yeah,
Cards at Shout
yeah.
Cosplay. So we've had a few really beautiful spoilers, and from a cosplay aspect, they're very interesting. So the first one is the Shiana specialization, and the Shiana specialization, what is it called? My brain.
It's
Allo-
called,
allure,
oh my,
Not safe for
inducement.
work.
alluring
Inducement. Yeah,
inducement. Yeah.
that 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 picture we've had for a little while was accidentally spoiled too early, taken away and then given back to us. But I really like the concept. I'm trying to work on a Shiana, but I'm on a cosplay brick wall at the moment. Um, but hopefully I'll
I
get out.
bet Isabel wanted this Shiana first, and I was like, "We're going as assassins. We're all going to be assassins. You guys don't have a choice. You're going as an assassin." And so she was like, "But I want to do Shiana," and I was like, "Next time."
Oh, there's always the
Yeah.
next time.
So that artwork is quite
Oh my
provocative,
god.
but very interesting because there is a lot of concepts on there that would be really fun to do as a cosplay because it's kind of melding the two, the Shiana and Brain.
Prism?
Shiana and yeah,
Prism.
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 I
Prism.
don't know why. She may have lived in
Yeah,
legend, but
Prism.
she's still
Yeah, just
here.
leave her living legend. We don't say her name anymore. No, no, no. We don't say her name anymore. As an Icelander player, we don't acknowledge her existence, please.
Yes. So it's I like the concept of her becoming her. So that could be a whole like a change kind of thing. It's nice to see the process of Shiana changing because it's always done in the storyline, and that kind of thing, it would be a very hard costume, but to do her changing into something else would be quite a cool concept. And I like that concept for a cosplay.
We actually had that idea, and we when she brought it up initially, because I'm a lore buff, and part of the reason I even did the cosplay, aside from hanging out with my kid, was because I wanted that lore book so freaking
Yeah,
bad
that
because I
little
think they'd
book.
be the coolest thing in the store. I wanted that so bad. So like I finally let her listen to a bunch of the lore and stuff, and she was like, "Oh, they're always changing characters." I'm like, "Yes, wouldn't it be awesome if you made a character like you made Shiana, but in the during the day as you're just walking around, you could just like whoop change to a character and just kind of like have a dress that folds up, and now all of a sudden you're somebody else." And like we messed around with that idea a bunch, and then she reined me in because my ADHD was going wild, and I was like, no, we have our ideas. We got to get these ones done first before we start worrying about anything else. Just focus.
And that is
So
the very
that would
hard
be
part
awesome.
of these spoilers at the moment. It's very hard to focus when you see, oh, this one looks good, that one looks good.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So when I saw
Yeah.
Bologna, oh God,
Mm-hmm.
Bologna. Whew, so I'm not that big of an fan, but my partner is. He played Angels and Magic, still does. And when the second Angel came out, when the first Angel came out, when Suraya came
Cesariah.
out, and I cracked a cold foil of her while I was sick, and that was like, well, this is a sign. Angels are coming. And I told him,
Yep.
angels are coming. Angels are going to be a thing. And he was like, no, 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 no. This is a one-time thing. Na na na. Bologna comes out, and I'm like, not only did I tell you so, but now I have the urge, the itch, the
Oh, more
mm,
angel.
because she's amazing. She
Yeah.
looks amazing. She's so powerful, and the cape and the flowing and everything. The only reason why I will not be cosplaying her is I do not know how to make my hair glow, and I will not be cosplaying her if my hair
Yeah.
does not glow.
I
That is
might
the thing.
have a
Yeah.
thing for you, but
Do
I
Ooh.
you?
might. We'll talk. We'll talk because I have some.
We'll talk.
I come from a contracting background where and I actually build sets for the local musicals that I got into because my daughter is a huge theater kid. So I signed on as one of the parents and I ended up taking over. So I have lots of theater techniques and stuff that we found during these shows to make tons of cool stuff like your hair glow, and not only your hair glow because like most glowing stuff you have to be in the light and then it only glows in the
Yeah.
dark. So
It reflects
yes,
basically,
Yeah.
or
yeah.
yeah.
So I found a lot of cool lighting techniques now. When I was messing with my Azuri costume, I found some really cool thin LEDs that basically you can
Hmm.
wire them into your
Mm.
hair and it will
Into
make
your
your
hair.
hair
Oh,
glow,
wow.
especially if you have, well, harder to do with darker
Wow.
hair, but when Isabel did she had the platinum blonde hair for her Leave No Witnesses costume, it worked perfectly in her hair because her hair was able to catch glow.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when you said you were a contractor, my brain just stopped and like you're contracted to banish my angel card or something like that. Yeah, that's where my brain
Yep,
went, and I kind of spaced out and returned back to the part where you were saying theater kid. Oh yes, theater. We're talking about that.
yep,
Okay,
yep. I'm
okay.
not an assassin legally outside of the game. We're gonna go with that.
But yes, we actually still have a lot of heroes that I don't think have been cosplayed. Has every single hero been cosplayed? Is
Oh,
my
yeah. Was
question.
a
Yeah,
So
swear I am
Dorinthia
not
was on our
an
list, and
assassin outside of
Dorinthia
the
was
game. I
done.
don't have to swear.
So Dorinthia's on our list as well.
Watch out! I have my edge of
I see
autumn here,
that.
and I'm not afraid to
Uh,
use it. So yeah, Dorinthia was done. Oh, I know who wasn't done.
Adult Levi.
The
Brian.
oh my God, the history battles
Yeah.
Dorinthia.
And she's
Oh,
got a new card
yeah,
as
that's
well,
a
a new
weird one too.
specialization.
She's different. She's got a new specialization, yeah, but I think every single hero has been made. So, what are we thinking about Vincent? Is Vincent cosplayable?
Yes,
I
yes.
would be very surprised if somebody did not cosplay them.
But
That would blow my mind. There are so many stands already just from the art. Like
Yeah, and with
It's gonna
Vincent,
happen.
again, as we've mentioned in the last podcast, do not shave your head. You can wear a bald cap. You don't have to shave your head.
Yes, yes,
The other one that came up that everyone kind of went, wow, that's kind of cool. How do I do that? Which is another lighting thing, is the Bravo specialization with the glowing fist. That looks like a
yes.
really fun one.
The glowing fist is not something that we saw for the first time. It's actually something that's been repeated through
Mm,
multiple Bravo arts that we
yeah,
see on previous cards. And I was talking to some friends about different things that you could cosplay in different characters. And I think it's especially difficult for male cosplayers who want to cosplay male characters but don't want to be either kids or extremely buff. There's a very limited
mm,
amount of
mm,
characters who can be cosplayed. However, the glowing hand Bravo was a fan favorite, and yes, a thing that we saw that could be done is making a
yeah,
two-part glove. So one part that fits directly into your hand, and then filling another glove that's bigger than your hand with like
yeah,
plushy stuffing, and then putting LEDs inside, putting that over your glove, kind of getting like a Mickey Mouse hand, and then just turning
yeah,
on the LEDs. It looks amazing. You look like you have a boxing
yeah.
glove on your hand, but I don't really know anybody who's gonna be cosplaying that anytime soon. However, if I do see that, it's just, can you punch me, please, with
Yeah, the
that?
interesting thing about that one is
It's gonna
also
be
that they
amazing.
had the Stavo armor. So that would be quite cool
Yes.
to see. Because I don't think, have we seen a Stavo yet?
Yeah, I think there was a
We've had
Starvo.
heaps of Bravos.
I think it was around the time. Yeah, we had a lot of Bravos, but I think there was a Starvo at the time that we had the Guinness cosplayer.
Oh, that's,
I
yes,
think it
all
was
eyes
at
were on
that.
Genus, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
but
gonna say
I
I
think it
remember
was around.
seeing one somewhere. I'm relatively new to the scene, but I've definitely seen one of Starvo
Yeah.
somewhere because the big armor
Yeah.
plating
Um,
rather than the jacket.
What about judges?
pardon?
What about judges? Like heroes, like Tepanis
Dependence.
and the other judges. We have a
Oh,
new
yes, I
judge
did see
spoil,
that.
also a judge
Yes.
promo. So that's a pretty cool looking card, and that's something that will be pretty nice to cosplay. Also
Yeah.
heralds. I don't think I've seen anybody
Mm.
cosplay a herald before. Like none. And there's what, five, six, seven of them.
Yeah, and then we,
Those are tough though because you got to somehow differentiate yourself, right? Like, and without telling anybody, like nobody knew Typanis was Typanis until he started telling everybody he was Typanis, and then we're like, "Who's Typanis? Never heard of
yeah,
him."
because,
And then you finally find out that yeah, he's one of the judge
yeah,
cards.
being,
Yeah, but if somebody were to come as Arclight Sentinel, I think everybody would just instantly, oh, yeah, my stomach's rising.
yeah,
I know that
yeah.
card. Because yeah, that
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's a card that yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop with her. We're losing Jimmy
Well,
here.
I mean,
Ah,
Iceland is another one that has been done quite a bit. I helped my friend with hers.
Yeah.
She did the ice headpiece, the coronet peak, and
Hmm.
I did the dress,
Coroner
and she
piece.
wore that
Yeah.
for our Auckland event. There's been quite a few really good um, Icelander, and I think that the more we get people doing the same character, it seems a shame because we kind of compare them with each other a little bit. And we also had a Genus at ours, but he was Gene. His name is Gene, and he is the one the card's named after. So he got second. Yeah,
Oh my
his because
god.
when you message him, it's I because he messaged me before the event, wished me good luck and stuff, and didn't even tell me he was doing the cosplay. So when you message him, because he kind of wheels and deals cards, a lot of TCGs, you message him and he goes, "Oh, what you need." So that's the whole behind Genius What You Need. Yeah. So, but he basically looked almost the same as the stateside one. They word for word they're the same, except for when the assassin popped one of his balloons. It started to go,
Oh
yeah, after the photos,
no.
though.
We would never.
Yeah,
But I was talking to some friends about so what's gonna happen if multiple eras show up at an event where you're cosplaying a Zira, a similar thing that you actually said now. Is it gonna be like a competition, like something? No, we will be recreating Torrent of Tempo, and if you're watching this and if you want to cosplay Era, I am obliged to hunt you down and make you take a picture of Torrent of Tempo with me because I think this
yeah.
this I mean, there's not many arts in Flesh and Blood where the same hero is shown in multiple instances
Hmm.
as the same card. I
That is such a
maybe Torrent of
phenomenal
Tempo
concept for that art
Yeah,
as
is
well.
the
yeah,
only
I really
one.
like it.
Yeah,
There's a few. Maybe Torrent and Tempo is the only one. I've definitely seen a few where I've commented on, "Holy crap! Like that's so cool to just they're moving so fast that the artist progression of the character through the card is like just amazing."
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So that's my bucket list. So era cosplayers,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
looking at
As
you.
soon
Shout
as I
out,
saw Miss
please.
Chalice do hers, I was like, we have to meet up one day. So even if she's not actively doing it, if I end up going to Europe, I'm going to try and find her so that we can do a photo together with her young Azalea and my adult Azalea.
Yes,
Most definitely.
and I'll come
yes.
and I'll bring Michael's bow because it's sitting in the
I
shop
believe
right
his
now on
works better
display.
than mine does, because mine you cannot torsion to actually shoot anything through it.
We can't torsion his to shoot anything either. I swear
It was the only way I was
he
getting it
has
into
a
cons.
OCD problem. Yeah, yeah.
So the funny part at Lil was we were talking about our weapons, and she comes out and she takes out a screwdriver, a wrench, and some bolts and starts putting the thing together. And I'm just looking at her like, how did they let you on a plane with that? And she's like, well, they didn't ask me anything. And these are real metal arrows. Meanwhile, my sword was made from paper at that time, and they stopped to ask me what that
Mm,
was.
um,
So yeah, I think some threats may have
yeah,
been
yeah, yeah.
from her side. Not sure
I
anything.
had to I wanted to take my death dealer on the bus with me, and I got the bus driver say, sorry, that's a offensive weapon. You'll have to put it under the bus. And the other people waiting for the bus were like, "Eh, it's obviously a prop. You could tell it's a prop." But
Look, that it's got to be
yeah,
flattering,
for death
right?
dealer, it is quite flattering.
That's clearly a weapon.
Yeah,
You got to go over
yeah,
the bus with that one.
yeah,
We did
basically.
have a backup plan for Mike's bow because we were made aware that some people would think it was too good. Look, because he very intentionally had to have everything be
Yeah,
perfect
and
on
it's
it. So
gorgeous.
we had a backup plan, and our plan was we would string the bow. If somebody said something, he would just cut the
Yeah.
string. But then because it was tensioned with the string, it would be like straight up and down flat. And then he's like, I'll bring a string and I'll bring one that's detachable. So if somebody has a problem with it, but we got one look when we were walking in from the security guards up, like looking over the doorway. They just like looked at it, but it helped that one of us was covered in fake blood. One of us had a long sword that was covered in blood and looked like she just murdered somebody. I was walking around in a unitard and like with a with dreads and looked very different than I normally do. And then yeah, he just had this bow, so it was like, yeah, I don't know which. Yeah, just go.
Okay, leave no witness, you know?
I
Yeah,
definitely have
yeah,
to
she
talk to him
was.
if I ever make it stateside because it will make it so much easier if I can borrow a bow instead of having to bring it.
I'm sure he will be more than happy to loan it to you. We're thinking about starting a cosplay prop channel where we could start doing props and stuff, and
Ooh.
that would be one of our giveaways.
Yeah,
With the other stuff we made too, where like having stuff that we make and just give it
yeah,
away as like viewership prizing because why not?
yeah.
But
It's
that's gonna come once we get done with all the rest of these events that we have running.
you're a busy man down there. So we'll come to looking forward to we're looking forward to in our next month. Any big events or things that we're looking forward to?
You can start.
In the
Yeah,
following
yeah.
month.
So I mean, this next month is kind of
So,
of Road to
mm,
Nats is kind of most people's thing, but is there anything particular?
well, my road
Yeah.
to nuts was today. So
Same.
that's done. That's finished. Was it was a weird
Mm.
experience because there were a lot of different heroes, which I didn't expect. The meta in my hometown is Dromai for some unknown
Same.
reason. There
Magic
were,
players. I blame
Yeah,
Magic
yeah,
players.
yeah,
yeah,
Dromai's
yeah,
getting
yeah.
up there.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah, two Magic players and a Yu-Gi-Oh
Yep.
player. Yeah, that
Yep.
makes sense. So
Same.
Dromai
Yeah.
was our meta, and we had an old team. We had a KO. No, a Kano. A Kano. We had a Kano. That was weird, but he got to top 8 somehow. I don't know.
When
Nobody
Kano
I'm
goes,
not
he
questioning
goes.
it. It
Yeah.
just happened.
Nobody's been playing AB the last month. Like we went to the 5K and the brawl last week, or the battle hardened brawl last weekend, and we all noticed every single deck list leading up to that weekend had one AB, and we're like, you know who's gonna spike an event this weekend? We can see it coming. It's gonna be Kano or it's gonna be an Icelander. And I was trying to audible into Icelander. I was too tired to build the deck the night before the event, and then Kano made it to the top 8, of course, because nobody had
Yeah.
AB, and then he barely lost in the top
Yeah.
8. It's
Yeah, we had zero
Right.
Islanders, zero. But when Dromai made it to the top 8, we had Kano in the top 8. We had an Azalea
Yes,
in the
Azalea.
top 8. She was really, really good. But she lost in the first round against an old team. It was basically dominate, 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 dominate,
Yeah.
dick out.
Yeah. That's
Mm,
Azalea's
okay.
weakness, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we had those. We had a Lexi or
Lexi's
two.
strong.
I think that was she's I went against her in my first round, and at one point, I'm just looking down at my health, and how am I at 14? When did this happen? How are you at
Yeah.
40? When
Mm.
did that happen? It's just
I just got a
amazing.
message on the other screen that our Lexi player top 4 and qualified for Vegas for nationals.
Nice.
So I was like, "Yep, well, that's I beat him last night at the event, and he was playing really well, so it was really good. I'm glad he finally got the payoff with Lexi.
Nice.
Let her have her moment in the sun for a few minutes before the snow happens
Yeah,
again.
yeah, basically. But yeah, so for the next, okay, so my local game stores mostly like doing like casual events and stuff like that, and then registering them as armories just so
Mm.
we can get points. So tomorrow we are doing 18 plus
Nice.
UPF. So we're gonna bring some booze and we're gonna bring some snacks, and we will be drinking game the UPF till I have no
Yeah.
idea when. And I really like those casual games, especially when it's a registered UPF. I'm just as happy as a little baby because I get to bring out my Dada doll and I get to be there and beep boop
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
I die,
It's
which is
usually when I It's usually when I crack
yeah,
my merchant. I'm genius. I'm giving everybody cards, and don't worry about the silvers. It's fine.
Beep boop, beep boop.
yeah. So basically, in Antwerp, the gold silver palms, yeah, okay, the gold color silver
Yeah.
palms UPF. I was playing my Data doll, and the thing is that I was in the middle of some kind of crafting, and I had one mission to construct my mech. And there were 5 players, okay? So I'm just like, okay, I'll be here. No attack, no damage, no output, no nothing. Just items and hyperdrivers and not touching anything till I get mech
Mm.
here or here, not in the banner zone, because if that happens, bye bye, I'm going. Please let me live. You can attack me if you need on hits. I can. I literally played with an open hand the entire time, and I constructed my
Yes.
mech.
Don't do it. It's a trap. It's a trap. Don't let
Win.
her live.
And I constructed my mech. And I think I didn't get any kills. I helped take one guy down a little bit in his life, but it was just an amazing experience. The first thing I did was I ran up to the streamers, to Kugana Gaming, and I was like, I constructed a mech, and he was like, congratulations, with Data Doll, and he was like, excuse me.
I'm just envisioning Data Doll inside the mech suit. It's great.
Somebody's got to give Rachel a run for her money.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody do it.
It is,
How do you upgrade a
I mean,
mech suit?
why
You
construct a
put
mech if
data
you
doll in
can
it.
be a mech.
be a mech?
Yeah, and
That's true.
yeah, there's a local
Or
who will
mechception.
absolutely love that. They are Data Doll mains, and they would love to do that kind of thing. That's their thing. Um,
Data doll
it
mains. Those exist?
it is, yeah, they do exist. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
um,
Fair. That's
it
fair.
is really cool that LSS is allowing things like um, oh, Commoner and Ultimate Pit to be 2 out of 4 of the events every month, so that you can have some casual events registered to. It's been really
Yeah.
good because it gives people a little bit of a fresh, especially when we're all grinding ready for nationals, and it's nice to just have that little break sometimes. And UPF's
Speaking
great.
Yeah.
of which,
So
that's
speaking
what
of
I'm
which,
looking forward to is the break.
Yeah,
That like for a minute there it was like, oh cool, we don't have any events, and then they're like, haha, gotcha, skirmish, RTN, battle hardened, this, that, the other. I'm like, holy crap, okay, and now like finding myself trying to make time to go to an RTN tomorrow just because it's I don't know, with all these LLs happening, it's like, oh, it's like it feels like the end of the season now,
mm,
and it's like, okay, breathe. Okay.
yes,
And I'm trying to plan the next Battle Lake Frigid for hopefully I want to do one every season so that we can do some really cool things,
nice.
including cosplay
ooh,
things, so we could double up on if you do a cosplay of a certain character. Isabel's idea for the summer one is to do all pool party themed. So it's going to
oh
be
my god,
beach themed
Oh
cosplays.
wow,
So I don't know if you've seen our Battle Lake Frigid playmat, but I had our artist do like beach themed characters on the playmat, but like a springtime one because it's still freezing cold and everything's still kind of
yeah,
icy here. So I we want to do a full blown summer one where it's you like instead of swords you have pool noodles but they're in the shapes of swords or stuff like
cool.
that. So we want to have something very flavored in the pool party theme so that we can do something cool. So we it might be like fall summer and then we might skip fall and then just plan for the winter one after that, but that's the plan as it stands. That's kind of where we're at.
Wow.
so I'm just imagining a Dromai cosplayer in like a red bikini with maybe scales or something, with a giant
Oh
dragon
yes.
floaty.
Yes. Well, when we were talking about it, this is kind of what we had,
Oh nice.
Ooh,
and like you see Katsu and his cool guy tattoos, Ben signed right
yeah,
on his chest, but he has a like he's got his like striped tattoo on his chest, and then you can kind of see in the background playing
Islander.
yeah one of these sides. Dyslexia is a hell of a drug over
Yep.
here. Right here, yeah. So like you see all of them like playing beach volleyball with a snowman, like stuff like that. And I think bringing stuff like that kind of breaks up the monotony of oh well we've already seen Icelander, we've already seen Dory, we've already seen Dash. So having a really cool thematic element to it where you get to play something different or bring your own flavor and flair to it, I think would be a great thing that I'm looking forward to.
Oh, awesome.
Old him being the German grandpa with a cooler box full of ice and beer, probably.
Yeah, well, that was the joke in it. That was right after the bannings happened when I was talking to the artist. So you notice how Fi is buried in the snow, and it's
Yeah.
Icelander and Oldham burying him in the snow. So that was our whole going joke going into the whole event that we were planning. So as long as Channel Lake Frigid doesn't ever get banned, or all of the
I
ice heroes
love
get
Channel
living
Lake Frigid.
legended.
It's great in Lexi.
Same. It's a very fair and balanced
Yeah,
card.
it's great.
Like I'm cool with it.
Channel Lake
Yeah,
friendship.
it's
Yeah. See, I call it that all the time, and my opponents do not like it very much. They don't like 3-turn Channel Lake friendships.
Oh. So
It's like,
Sharing is
what I'm
caring.
looking forward to this month is I'm actually participating in the Rainbow Foils Pitch Perfect League. Yeah, so
Pitches.
I'm really looking forward to
Yeah.
that. I'm looking forward to meeting people from all over the world. They recently did the meta breakdown, and I'm one of two azaleas, which is fine. So um, we're going to have a hard time because there is a lot of Lexis and Dromais in the thing. There is a couple
Yeah.
of Kanos, and it's going to be fun. Um, I I do not have any illusions of top eighting, but I'm really looking forward to meeting women and other LGBTQ people from around the world because that's kind of what I really enjoy about this game is connecting with other people. In the past, I have done we had the Cancer Society online competition, which I participated in as well. And I made some really good friends from Poland and all over the world. And that's why I love this game because we get so connected. And also, I mean, yes, it is just for women and gender minorities, but it's still celebrating the game and it gives us a safe space to grow and be more, um, bring more of ourselves and be more confident to bring that to the
Better
game as a whole.
yeah, and better representation
Yeah,
and everything.
yep. And I feel like everybody should have skin in this game as well because, like, I may not be a part of it. I'm definitely an ally, but at the same time, like, if it's safe for one person, it should be safe for everybody. And as a dad of girls in the gaming community that's been gatekept for so long, it is really nice to see people allowing other people to be free. Like I comment all the time how many females I see playing the game at these big events, and it's a very different experience than when my 12-year-old was coming with me and she's literally the only female in a sea of 700, 800
yeah,
players. And you know, I know some of the people and what they are like, and I'm like, being the only one is not safe for
yeah. And
anyone,
I've been there too.
let
Yeah,
alone,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm really excited to see that growth and everybody being a accepted and b being that it's like not a big thing to be accepted. Like it's like, hey, that's the bare minimum
yeah,
standard.
Norm.
Like that
Yeah,
should
yeah.
be fine. Like who cares? Be you. Like how does that have to do with anybody?
yeah. And yeah,
Yeah.
I really like seeing LGBTQ plus people at different events, and the main reason why I like seeing people wearing like t-shirts, hoodies, or pins or something where I don't know. I think I actually saw somebody in Lille or Antwerp. I don't remember. Wear a pin that said just a little rainbow and said ally, and
yeah,
that was that moment when you sit across that person and you're playing against them and you're a minority or you're a part
the rainbow.
of a group and you see that and you're like it's just it's like a burden lifts off your chest a little bit because you're not pressured into pretending or you're not pressured into being something that you're not,
Can
and I
let the
really
guard
like
down,
the
and that's
yeah, you can let the guard down.
exhausting having to keep the
Yeah,
guard up all the
yeah.
time.
And you can enjoy the game, and that's what we're all here for. So, with that note, shall we close everything off? Do you have some socials you'd like to share, Valera?
Oh my God. Okay, so I don't know, maybe Twitter. If you want, you can find me at Ira of Mysteria with dots in between each word. So it's Ira dot of dot Mysteria. That's Mysteria with an I, not a Y. And that's
I
basically
don't
it.
know.
Come chat.
Your Facebook cosplay page is pretty
It
cool.
is.
I did go looking through it,
Yeah,
and I think
yeah.
you should definitely share that because that is quite the experience.
So it's you can also add me on Instagram or Facebook. So my Facebook page is Valera N, like it says on the screen, and it's just Valera N cosplay. And my Instagram is Valera N5, or you can choose my other Instagram, which is ira dot of dot
Nice.
mysteria. And that's not even the full list of my socials, but yeah,
The, the,
that's enough for
there'll be link
today.
trees there if they
Jimmy,
want to go further, right? Yeah.
your Twitter is actually amazing. So when Baltimore was done, me and my partner actually, confession time, stalked the ever loving Jesus out of your Twitter
Who,
page for
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
mine?
your
Oh,
page. Yes. For work in progress photos and like, are those black tech whispers? No. Is that an orbital class? No. Is that 3D print? Is that foam? Is that what are they? Does that man have an army of crafters? What's going on? And we were just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and we get to the bottom, and we're like, that's it.
I know it was I ran out of time. I was literally still painting my costume. Like we were supposed to leave at 5 a.m. Friday. My costume was they literally we literally glued all my pieces on at noon, and they saran wrapped me so that it would stick to the under part and stay formed. And then I just laid in a chair, and I finally fell asleep for the first time in 2 weeks. And I just like passed out for 2 hours, and then I got back up, and I'm like wondering, I'm like, hey, what do you guys roll me out of the chair, please? And then I continued painting the rest of my stuff and finishing it. So it was we left at 6 p.m. for a 6 hour drive, and we got in around 1 o'clock because my stuff was still being like it took them dragging me through. They're like, just finish it. You can just wear whatever you have. I'm like, no, it's not done. I can't wear it. Like I can't. I don't have a costume. I'm not. And they made me wear it anyway. But yeah, like we really enjoy the crafting side of things. So like you can always reach out and ask because I was taking pictures. Mike is very camera shy, although he is a beautiful guy. Like he's very camera shy. He doesn't like being on camera, but he the excitement of a child when he is explaining how he's doing stuff and what he's doing and why he's doing it and how much detail he's taking, like that stuff is enough to be infectious and make me want to keep doing it. So like he's a really good dude, and I hope he comes out of the shell a little bit more as he progresses in this community. So that being said, my Twitter is at Blind Ray, I believe. I'm newer to the Twitterverse, and I'm Jimmy Ray, Wray. Oh yeah, the backwards
Yeah.
thing. Jimmy Ray on Twitter, or you can follow my game store, WNY Gaming. We're a community store. We're by and for the community, which is why I have pictures like you probably where you're like, what the hell's going on there? He has a whole workshop. Like, is there an army?
Yeah.
It's because we literally sectioned off a whole part of the play space, and I went out and brought in my tools or bought new tools so that we could set up crafting stations for everybody so that they could do stuff. Whether it was the sewing, I literally set up an entire paint spray booth in that play space area, and all the grinders and the sanders and all that stuff because you know I wanted people to visibly see when they walked in, see us working on it, and be like, "What's going on over here?" And like, it's like, come be a part of this. Like, I invited everybody, and a few people came in and made smaller props that they weren't able to cosplay with, but like. It was still a community thing. We were here every night till 4 or 5 in the morning, our
Yeah.
time, and crafting. And it's a community thing. Everybody is welcome to be a part of it, and that's kind of how we build the community here. Is your Flesh and Blood goes perfectly with our whole community motto because this game is very much community oriented, where a lot of the other games are a lot more cutthroat towards winning and not necessarily about building a good community to be a part
Mm.
of.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
So that's all for your socials. Nothing else.
I believe so. Just WNY
Yeah.
Gaming. I'm not a big Instagram person. Just Facebook and now Twitter because of the
Yeah.
pandemic. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I do stream occasionally, so WNY underscore gaming on Twitch when we do stream, and I think we're gonna start trying to. I'm working on something, trying to get a constant stream going, maybe crafting geared because we had such a blast doing it, and it's just great working with your hands and working with stuff. And like I if you asked me if we could have created this, I would have never in a million years told you that like this would have been something we'd made.
Oh yeah.
And I am so unbelievably thrilled with how that came out. And the bow, the azalea bow was
Yeah.
amazing. We got so many other people in the community involved that don't even play Flesh and Blood, but they're painters or they like crafting. They came and were a part of it as well. So, you know, that's pretty much it. Just the store, propping up the store is the best way to support
Yeah.
us and to help us keep supporting the community. So
Nice. And yes, I'm Lynette. I'm Fabled Hero NZ, basically on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. And we also have the Flesh and Blood cosplay page that anyone can join that has any enthusiasticness for cosplay and wants to support, or you can share photos that you've had with cosplayers or that kind of stuff. We also have our Discord, and you can get an invite. We all kind of chat, and we have a off topic which seems to be full of cats and things at the moment, which is kind of fun. Because
Yeah.
it's always nice to have some downtime. And yeah, and it's just been really great talking with you both today. Thank you so much for your time. And we're the Shapeshifters of Rathe, and we're here to create and build and encourage creativity. Thank you all.
thanks so much. Appreciate being on.
Bye.